Have you ever noticed there are some people you just need to keep an eye on? You never know for sure what they're up to. It can be something innocent. It can be like my grandson. You have to keep an eye on my 7-year-old grandson. He's likely just to sneak up on you and give you a wedgie. And I don't know who taught him that or where he got it. It must be some strange person in his family. Then again, the people we need to keep an eye on can be innocent or not so innocent. There are some people you need to keep an eye on because they're dangerous and you can not turn your back on them. They might just stab you in the back if you're not looking. Their motives and methods are suspect at best. You'd better keep an eye on them and watch out for them. When Paul wrote to the Philippian church, he indicated that there were people within their community that needed to be watched. He wrote in Philippians 3:18 through 19, "For I have told you often before, and I say it again with tears in my eyes, that there are many whose conduct shows that they're really enemies of the cross of Christ. They're headed for destruction. Their God is their appetite. They brag about shameful things, and they think only about this life here on earth." It pained Paul to have to say that there were people you couldn't trust. It didn't bring any joy to his heart to talk about it. That in and of itself is an interesting note. Many people find no greater joy than talking behind the backs of others, even their so-called friends. It only takes a spark to light their fire and get their combustible engine of gossip started. We all need to be wary of people who talk behind other people's backs. We need to remember that God hates dissension and gossip. So don't waste your time around people who are always putting other people down and spreading evil reports about them. God tells us specifically to stay away from people like that. He wrote in Romans 16:17, "Watch out for people who cause divisions." Paul said some of these people are enemies of the cross. Now that's a strong term. The word enemy means openly hostile or bent on causing harm. What are these enemies of the cross trying to harm? Of course, they're not enemies of pieces of wood used to punish criminals. They're enemies of the simple message of grace, the message of the cross. The message of the cross is grace and forgiveness. These enemies want to keep people under the constraints of rules and regulations. They tend to be judgmental and condemning, and they don't like the message of freedom and forgiveness. These are people you need to keep an eye on. They tend to be judgmental, harsh, intolerant, and unforgiving. They are rule-based people. If you don't play by their rules, you're a bad person. If you don't match up to their expectations, then you're not a godly person. They have a picture in their mind of what a true believer is, and if you don't match that picture, you're not a spiritual person. Churches are filled with people like this. To be honest, Christianity has taken a black eye over their judgmental and self-righteous attitudes. The message of the cross is one of grace and forgiveness. Now, God has not lessened his standard of holiness and righteous living. Yet, he has paid the price on the cross to forgive all of us who keep coming up short. Paul says these kind of people are headed for destruction or ruin or loss. They'll be severed by their own rules because nobody can live up to them. That's why the cross was necessary. The truth, Paul says, is that they live only for themselves. They are interested in what fills them up and makes them look good. He says they worship their bellies and their appetites. In other words, they find pleasure in worldly things and not heavenly things. In our lives, we all need to watch out for judgmental spirits. We need to make sure that we don't live solely to make ourselves happy and to make ourselves look good. We don't need to lose focus on what is eternal in our search for the physically satisfying pursuits of the world we live in. So I ask you, are the people in your life focused on grace or rules? On God's goodness or stringent rules? Are they seeking to please Him or please themselves? Do they hunger after the things of God or only hunger after what feeds their own appetites? Are they proud of their shame and lifestyles that dishonor God? The writer of Romans says it best. He wrote in Romans 12:2, don't copy the behaviors and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect. Here's the thought for today. It's a little different. Think about it. Watch out for the grace eaters. Think a little bit today about what a grace eater is. Here's a prayer for today. God, help me today to not get caught up in the trap of self-performance. Help me to understand that you want me to live by grace, not by merit. Help me to live with an eye on eternity, not just living for the moment. God bless you.